Good evening. Welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson, and this is the news. Authorities have questioned Stefan W., who was arrested for killing the mayor of Gdansk. The Polish press agency, citing sources close to the investigation, reported today that after being released from prison, Stefan W. planned a high-profile assassination. According to the prosecutor's office, after leaving prison, Stefan W. visited Warsaw and was in the vicinity of the presidential palace.
The man testified that supposedly he wanted to do something big, which everyone would talk about, which is why he tried to enter the area of the presidential palace at night. After failing to cross the fence, he gave up and returned to Gdańsk. This is the information provided by the Polish press agency and has been contradicted by the Government Protection Bureau. According to its spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Bogusław Piórkowski, an analysis of the CCTV did not confirm that any attempt to enter the territory of the presidential palace had been made.
The Polish Press Freedom Monitoring Centre appealed to the Polish public television company to reinstate journalist Michał Rachon and Krystian Karwel, the editor of his programme Minęło 20. Both journalists were suspended following the broadcast of an animation by Barbara Piela about the Great Orchestra of Christmas Charity. According to the monitoring centre, the animation did not cross the bounds of political satire and should not therefore have been a cause for suspension.
According to the Press Freedom Monitoring Center by the Association of Polish Journalists, the sanctions against the two journalists could be a violation of freedom of speech. According to columnist Witold Gadowski, it's not the journalist who should be taking responsibility for the controversial animation, but its author. If there was any anti-Semitic message in the animation, or one that could be interpreted that way, then it is the author of the short film that should be taking responsibility for it, not Mr. Rachon. Wojciech Korkuć, an artist and graphic designer, is also standing by the two journalists. The blame should fall on the author of the program. I don't exactly understand what the point of the animation was, but Mr. Rachon is the last person who should be considered responsible for not noticing such a small detail as the small David star on one of many bills that are used in the short film. Every production needs to go through approval first, so the people who let it air should be suspended, not the two journalists. Many politicians agreed that the suspension was too harsh a punishment, stressing the importance of satire in modern media. However, some of them point to the fact that both political sides should be laughed at, not only the opposition. If we were to call it a satire, then it should be about all political sides, not only about the opposition. I haven't seen any politician of the ruling Law and Justice Party laughed at in the program, so someone must have had a certain agenda in all this. We're yet to see whether public television broadcaster TVP listens to the appeal made by the Press Freedom Monitoring Center. If it does, the author of the animation, Barbara Piela, could soon receive a similar punishment to that of Michał Rachon and Krystian Karwel.
I know one thing. If we wish to soothe this ever-present hatred, we must begin with ourselves. I will try my best not to cross any more boundaries, and if I do, punish me. These are the words published by Paweł Kukiz, leader of the Kukiz 15 movement, on his Facebook profile in reference to his earlier social media posts. The burning question: will any other politicians answer his plea?
The atmosphere in the Polish parliament was a lot different than usual this week, much calmer, lacking political arguments after the death of Gdańsk mayor Paweł Adamowicz. A lot is being said about the need to lighten the tone of public debate and bring down political tension. This moved Paweł Kukiz to do some soul-searching, as he published a Facebook post saying he had reviewed his past statements and felt some of them crossed the line. He also declared that he will make an effort not to cross any more lines. Will any more politicians follow his example?
We will be speaking about it after the funeral. The memorial service is taking place in Gdańsk today, and I think that Paweł Kukiz should be present there, and so should Jarosław Kaczyński. Now, right now, I think that it might be a bit too late right now. Trying to talk people into covering their heads with ashes is rather disingenuous. Yes, everyone should start with themselves because we will not get anywhere pointing fingers at others. I'm worried that we do not hear such statements from the other side of the political spectrum.
The suggestion from Paweł Kukis to first look at oneself and above all own up to one's own mistakes seems valid and may prove to be effective, given some goodwill. This is just one condition. Everyone would have to follow that suggestion. Whether this actually happens will be seen in the coming weeks.
The planned departure of the United Kingdom from the European Union will have serious consequences both for Poles living there and for Britons living on the continent. While there remains a slim possibility that the United Kingdom ultimately remains in the Union, as things stand at present, a hard Brexit looks probable, which would be the worst result for all sides.
The departure of the United Kingdom from the European Union will also have serious consequences for Poles living there. I am convinced that a second vote will approve the departure of the United Kingdom from the Union in a way which accords with the agreement that has been reached by both parties. There still remains a small possibility that the United Kingdom will stay in the Union. I hope that the madness that is Brexit will be stopped and that there will be a second referendum, because the polls show that the British have realized that it was based on lies and manipulation, including Russian influence. According to the columnist Rafał Ziemkiewicz, we would like the United Kingdom to remain within the structures of the Union, and a hard Brexit would have serious consequences for Poles, although not only negative ones. In Poland there is a lack of hands for work, and they are already supplemented by workers from Bangladesh. It is, in my opinion, in the interest of the country that Poles return. According to The Economist Marek Zuber, a hard Brexit would be the worst result for all parties, the United Kingdom and the entire European Union.
Pierwszy okres, zamieszanie, pierwszy okres problemy.
Unfortunately, if this were to happen, there are no procedures in place and there would be severe chaos. Cross-border customs clearance forms would need to be printed again, and the transport industry would suffer the first consequences of the period of confusion and losses, and it's a question of how long it would take to return to some form of normality. The second vote on the withdrawal agreement will take place in the House of Commons on January 29th. Exactly 2 months later, in accordance with the current schedule, the United Kingdom will leave the European Union.
That's the news for today. Thank you for watching. I wish you a good evening and a better tomorrow, but please stay with us for Poland Daily Business.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paulina Otterstein and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tonight, quite a pleasant night ahead of us temperature-wise, because we will see 4 degrees Celsius in the area of Krakow, 3 degrees in the area of Katowice and Wrocław. All over the country also plus temperatures, yet some snow will appear tonight. And now let's check the forecast for tomorrow. As we can see, a lot of sun throughout the whole country. A few clouds here and there will appear in the area of Rzeszów, also in Wrocław, Zielona Góra, Szczecin and Poznań. -1 degree will be the coolest in the eastern parts of the country, also in Olsztyn, and the warmest will be the northern regions, Gdańsk, Koszalin, also Szczecin, Zielona Góra, Wrocław and Poznań. Now let's check the forecast for the upcoming days. If we look at Sunday, we will see a lot of sun as well. -2 degrees will be the minimum in the eastern parts of the country and 1 degree will be the maximum. On Monday, we are expecting also -2 in the eastern parts, -1 in central Poland and up to 1 degree in the western parts. On Tuesday, up to -4 in the east and the south, as well as in the north, -1 in central Poland and up to 0 degrees. This is all for tonight. Thank you. Goodbye.
You are watching Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Olaf Wojak of Adam Smith Center. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Well, we'll talk tonight about the Polish social security system that is inheritance from the old communist time when everyone was insured and there was no real money circulating around the economy, rather than plans and economy and the pensions on the equally low level. This system was based on the Bismarck reform of late 19th century, and right now, with diminishing growth of population, with huge emigration, the system is very much jeopardized. Is it current Polish social security system sustainable, according to you?
Yes, the system was made in 19th century, especially for veterans of First World War, and the socialists gained the system as they thought it's the best way to take money from their own employees and make a promise that someday you will have your pension. But unfortunately...
the basic assumption was that everyone will die after 65 years old.
Yes, so that's good, we live longer. But of course the system right now crashes, and Adam Smith Center for many years has told that the system that we have in our country, based on one insurance company that's owned by the government, is a bankrupt. It doesn't have any money, and it never had since when we had a free country 30 years ago. This office was taken by the new government, by Prime Minister Mazowiecki, and for his surprise was that this system of insuring employees, all employed in Poland, had no money. I mean, to be exact, no money. It's supposed to have money that were invested in the market, that were producing another money that were invested in...
We're speaking about the breakup between the communist system and current.
It's one of the proofs that it bankrupted.
It started from zero. 30 years ago, there was no money in
But you have to understand, this system owed money to people that had worked pensions, and for their whole life they worked companies. They had no choice. The choice was made by some other government employees for them where they will work and how much they will own. And then the system owned money, so it's not a zero, it's a minus, and a very large one. And the problem is that the government then decided that the system will go on, that we have to all work to pay those pensions in the coming years, and that every other person that is going to be forced to be in the system will have to pay and also believe that it will have the pension. And Adam Smith Center for many years has told that it's a bankruptcy system, and it's not good it's not true. I mean, you cannot tell people they will have pension if it's the money aren't there.
But you are taking their money, promising that they will get it back once they will go. Once they will retire. That's the first question. Another is that.
So right now we have confirmation. I mean, this is a big confirmation of what we have been telling for many years right now, that the system is really a bankruptcy.
But you have to keep
national
your promises.
System of insurance doesn't work, and we have to open the market. We have to let private companies inside our system for us to have choice, of where we would like to be insured.
Would you
very important.
Believe the private company that says 20 years from now we will pay you pension or whatever, or a state? Because you can be pretty sure that 20 years from now the state will exist, barred from some war and other cataclysms. But in terms of privately run company, they can go bankrupt. Your money are not safe even there.
it's interesting because you could say exactly the same with banks, and you don't have these kind of problems. There are ways to ensure that a bank will be able to pay your money back, and exactly in this kind of way you can do this with private insurance companies. But the matter is that you need a free market for it to be available. Yes, there are going to be companies that are going to cheat their customers. But right now we have one company that's cheating all of their customers. 13% is all the money that customers are getting back from all the people that lives in Poland. There are that they have certain.
Well, to be fair, only those who are insured at ZUS, the Social Security
I'm sorry, but this is the majority. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have a choice right now. You have to be in the system. You are fulfilling something that you never agreed to. You don't have the terms. The government. We had a government before for Platforma Obywatelska that had changed the rules during the being insured.
The famous quote of Donald Tusk, who said that the money that are at ZUS or Polish social security system are not owned by the citizens.
So, see, it's a scam, and you have to understand that it doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, the system has to be changed. And it's a hard way because you have to still pay those people who already who already are believing that they will get the money. So you have to pay the pensions, but on the other hand, you have to open the system for new people to make their own belief where the money are going to be invested well. If they will believe that this system is true for people, as you mentioned, that you believe that government-owned insurance system it's probably more believable, yes, then let the system work. But we should have a choice. Right now we don't have this choice, and this is the most important thing.
Opening the system for competition is like one thing, and you believe that competition will drive the cost of the operation down. First of all,
do you know that
allow the wider access to the new ways of communicating, and make sure that the payoff will be bigger because of the competition. That's fair enough. Do you think that the changes in the economy, like automation of the work, increase manufacturing, increase incomes for the economy, will also be beneficial towards the fulfilling the promises that Social Security is bringing?
Yes, because when people will decide for themselves, they will decide what to do with their own money. And if they will have more money, if people will have more of their own money, they will still use it in our country. So they will buy goods, they will pay taxes, and the money are going to be back in the system.
Or the best insurance is to have children?
Well, in some countries, it's believable, yes, and I believe that having children is always good if someone needs them and feel fulfillment with this. And yes, this is a natural way, and especially in South America, where they believe children are the best investment. And is it supposed to be in Poland? No, we should be farther than this. This system was, for many centuries, believed the best system of insurance of your future, but I believe that it's supposed to be our choice. We should have other possibilities. So having children is always good, and it's always a good choice if someone feels the needs of having them, but we shouldn't do it because we don't have a choice what to do with our money. So yes, we have to open the system. We have to make the fulfillments with all the people that will have to get their pensions. And the situation is going to be hard for a few years, but it will change. And right now, the information that the system is bankrupting, it's preparing us for the worst. So let it not be the hard way that we will just know one day that we all lost money. Let's do it softly, opening the market and trying to people have their own choice.
So said Olaf Wojak of Adam Smith Center. So thank you very much. And I sense that this is the discussions that's running on pretty much in every developed country, maybe except China and Japan, when they don't believe in the social security system and save for their own future. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And that was it, ladies and gentlemen, for this edition of Poland Daily Business.
Good evening, welcome again to Poland Daily Weather. I'm Paulina Adlerstein. Tomorrow in Poland it will be very nice and sunny throughout the whole country. No rain is expected. The maximum temperature will be 2 degrees in the northern parts, like in Gdańsk, Koszalin, Szczecin, also in the western parts, and in Poznań, central Poland, we'll see 1 degree in Warsaw, 0 degrees in Łódź. And now let's check what will happen tomorrow in Europe. So Central Europe will see a lot of sun as well. The minimum temperature will be -7 degrees in Oslo, Norway, also -5 in Helsinki, -2 in Stockholm with a lot of sun, and the warmest will be Lisbon, Portugal with 14 degrees Celsius. This is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Mazowsza was created on November 8, 1948, on the orders of the Ministry of Culture and Art. Tadeusz Sygietiński was entrusted with the task of organizing a folk ensemble. Their objective was to preserve the traditional folk repertoire based on songs, chants, and dances of the Mazowsza region and the regional artistic tradition. In the ruins of bombed-out Warsaw, Tadeusz Sygietiński, a remarkable composer, and Mira Ziemińska-Sygietińska, a theatrical and film actress of the pre-war era, made a promise to one another that if they survived the war, they would create a folk ensemble. For the film and cabaret actress, this field of interest seemed rather vague, but for Tadeusz, it was the realization of his dreams. After the premiere in Warsaw, Mazowsza continued to enhance their program, planning new undertakings and making important decisions. Just 1 year on, in 1951, Mazowsza started touring outside Poland. The first country they visited was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, which was understandable given Poland's geopolitical situation back then. 3 years later, the Polish government allowed Mazowsza to venture beyond the Iron Curtain. On October 1st, 1954, they gave a concert in Paris, and 6 years later, in the USA. Today, Mazowsza organizes concerts in every corner of the world.
I'm joined here by Mr. Krzysztof Korle, the manager here at Mazowsza. Mr. Korle, welcome to Poland Daily Culture.
Welcome. Hello.
So I'd like to ask you some questions about how Mazowsza is perceived abroad. Could you tell us perhaps how Mazowsza, the difference between how Mazowsza is perceived in Poland and how it's perceived in other countries?
Yeah, so this is the long story, of course. Mazowsza starting the tour abroad very early, 1951. So it was just 1 year after premiere in Warsaw, which was in Teatr Polski, November 6, 1950. Next year, Mazowsza received invitation for first tour abroad, and of course at that time it was the only one possible direction. So the first show was in Soviet Union. And we visited this country twice at that time, because the next tour was in 1953, and it was together with China and Mongolia, so it was like the very, very long tour. But 1954, Mazowsza went to Paris for the first tour outside the Iron Curtain. So from that moment, we really hit the audience, and some of the newspapers wrote, if this is the image of Poland, so long live Poland. And how people feel about it in our performances here and abroad. So, you know, here, of course, in Poland, we like institution who try to cultivate, who try to still keep in memory what's the best in Polish folklore. Of course, Mazowsza don't showing this folklore in a very in very traditional way, like we say in crudo. We try to stylize a little. That's because we would like to present the same show here in Poland and outside Poland. So this image should be very understandable for the audience abroad. So it cannot be too long, too boring. This must be very energetic show, very colorful, very fast in tempo. So that's why we decided to stylize a little the best part from the Polish folklore. We have this privilege that our founders, it was Professor Tadeusz Sygetyński, a very famous Polish composer and musician, and his wife Mira Zimińska-Sygetyńska, at that time one of the best Polish actresses. So they have this feeling about the stage, about the music. He was a brilliant composer, and what he did in our music, trying to take the best part from the songs, folk songs, and to give them the new life on the stage. And what did Mira about our costumes, that she knows exactly what kind of costumes, what kind of color we present in the stage. So, and how is the viewing from the stage, how is how the people feel about it. So she knows everything about the stage. So that's why we have this privilege that we start to work with these people. So it was very easy for us to prepare this process with preparing the show here in Poland and abroad. So since the first tour, Mazowsze already visited 50 countries on 5 continents. So it's a very big number. And try to imagine that, for example, in the United States, we already did 12 tours, and we gave more than 700 performances. So it means that we performed there 2 years, day after day. So it's a big number.
Could you tell us something about how Mazowsze is received in individual countries? I'm guessing, you know, some countries are a lot more open and welcoming and interested in Mazowsze than others.
Yes, you know, I feel that the biggest popularity, of course, it's in those countries where still is a very big, there is big number of Polonia living there, of Polish people abroad living there. So that's why after the war, when we visited those countries outside the Iron Curtain, so we feel like home, because it was a lot of people who at that time cannot come to Poland for our shows. So for them, Mazowsze show, it was like coming back for a moment to Poland. So that's why countries like Germany, France, United States, Canada, it was Belgium, it was the country where we perform a lot of times. Not only, of course, the Polonia people enjoying our show, also the local people, but the main influences was like from Polonia people, that they sharing their opinion with the neighbors, with their friends about this group, and that's why, that's how it all begins, this popularity. For example, in United States, Mazowsze performing always in the very big theaters. In the theaters where usually Broadway on tour perform. So for those kind of shows, we have the special name. In the United States, Mazowsze perform as a Magnificent Mazowsze. So it's like our trademark there. And it means that if we perform in the theater where the audience, like 1 week before, saw the Phantom of the Opera, so it means that this is the very high quality of the performance, and people buying the tickets knowing that it will be some kind of a great show. There are many countries, like I always wondering about this fact that, for example, in the middle of Europe, in our former bloc of Eastern Europe, so there are still countries like Bulgaria, like Romania, like former Yugoslavia, which we visited only once or twice. So maybe because in those countries, the national identity are very strong, and they have the very big meaning of their own folklore, of their own group. So maybe for them we were not such a big attraction, because so many groups working there with a very high level of artistic activity. So I don't know. Still, this situation is still that for some of the countries we treat it like some kind of one-day show, one evening show, and for some of them we have still invitation to coming back because people ask about when will be the next of Mazovsha shows.
America is the most popular destination for Mazovsha. I understand that you've got a tour coming up in the year next year.
Yeah, I just come back 2 days ago. I come back from New York. Mazovsha belongs to the organization. It's International Society of the Performing Arts, and each January we meet with around 500 other members of this organization in the conference of New York, and we're trying to reach the new market, and we're trying to share our experience about performing. And of course it was the chance for us to start our negotiation about our next North American tour, because it will be connected United States and Canada as usual. This is a very good situation for Mazovsha, that Mazovsha has the privilege to work with the very famous American impresarios and artistic agency, because in the beginning of our activity there, we work with one of the greatest American impresario, which was Sol Yurok. Then we were for many years working with the Columbia Artist Management, one of the biggest management agency in the United States. And right now we're working with a Tuluk Concept, which is a new organization, but the manager of this organization working with us as a former member of the Columbia Artist Management. So we know exactly what we can expect from each other, and it's very easy for us to share experiences. So we talk about the tour in 2020, because it will be like 10 years since our last tour in North America, and it will be 70 years from our first performance ever in Warsaw. So we try to combine these two important dates together, and well, we'll see.
Just one last question. Perhaps you could tell a lot of viewers will be familiar with the film Cold War, and obviously I would assume that this has brought Mazovsha to a new audience. Have you recognized a kind of spike in interest abroad?
Yes, we feel it, because, you know, people call us, well, wherever the Cold War was distributed outside the Poland, so we have a lot of telephones coming to our company, asking us for using of some materials connected with the group or connected with the songs Two Hearts, which was the main song in the movie. So we feel about it, and we also feel that the new part of audience here in Poland start to interest again in Mazovsha, because, you know, still for some of the people, especially in these modern times, that they feel that they know Mazovsha, yes, but Mazovsha, it's like the old story. So they know all about us, but, well, for them, this chapter is like closed. And right now, since Cold War and since those big interest of Cold War, when they realize what kind of phenomenon it is and what kind of music it is, because the half of the movie is based on our music, yes, and still the Two Hearts song arrangement, it's made basic on our music. So they feel this is something they should interest again. So we feel it, because a lot of people calling us and asking about where can they buy the tickets for our show, where can we perform in specific cities in Poland. So it's like the new life, yes, for some of them.
Mr. Krzysztof Kolo, thank you very much for joining us here at Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Warsaw Royal Castle, an estate that served as a residence for king and monarchs of Poland for centuries. Follow me and my guests as we unravel the story and history of this amazing place on Poland Daily History. Our guests today are Professor Zofia Kosowska and Dr. Łukasz Kosowski. the two curators behind the Signs of Freedom exhibition on display in the Royal Castle in Warsaw. The exhibition uses various types of art to chronologically guide the visitor through the era between 1914 and 1989, a period in which Poles had to fight hard to either regain or retain Poland's independence. We will start by talking to Professor Kosowska about the development of Warsaw following the end of the First World War and the seminal moment in 1918 when the Polish state reappeared on the maps of Europe as a sovereign entity after having been partitioned for 123 years. It was a time of transformation for Warsaw, spurred by serving as the capital city of an independent state instead of having a status as a provincial town of the Russian Empire. The emergence of car traffic and the mass construction of modern apartment buildings were to have a colossal impact on the city's architecture. Now that we know the involvement of the provinces during the interwar era, let's talk deeper into the Warsaw's involvement and the things that derive from the era, such as art and the likes of the involvement of Warsaw.
Warsaw became the heart of the reborn Polish state. It was the administrative center of the country. The government naturally had its seat here. The president also resided in Warsaw, actually right here in the royal castle. So Warsaw became a very important location in which all official diplomatic events take place. Diplomats and important guests are invited here, and parties and proms are organized here. So Warsaw is a place for exclusive events, and this is where the so-called high society enjoys itself. Here in the royal castle and in its vicinity, important anniversaries are celebrated, particularly those that are especially important for Marshal Józef Piłsudski. So, for example, the tradition of Polish 19th century uprisings against the occupying forces, such as the November uprising against Russia between 1830 and 1831, and the November uprising also against Russia between 1863 and 1864. The anniversaries of the adoption of the May 3rd Constitution of 1791, signed here in the Royal Castle, were also important. The May 3rd Constitution was an important point of reference for the new constitution adopted in March 1921, the so-called March Constitution. The new constitution introduced equal rights for women, including the right to vote, but also equal rights for national minorities, whether religious or ethnic. So the document is quite progressive to its character. Maybe not all of its provisions were implemented to the fullest, but the direction of Polish politics had been staked out. This is also an era in which Warsaw is quickly modernizing. A large group of architects start their work here. Many of them embrace the new avant-garde style of architecture and use functionalism to find new solutions to problems. Many new residential areas are built, something which is incredibly important since it improves the quality of life for people, including the middle class. The new houses are built in accordance with modern functionalist methods. Projects of new urban centers are created. Some of them are clearly associated with classical historic architecture. Some of these new districts are dominated by government buildings. Every ministry needs its own headquarters, and they are often built in the vicinity of the Belvedere Palace, which houses Marshal Józef Piłsudski. Another important development is the appearance of car traffic, which remodels old principles of urban planning. Apart from cars, the tram network is also vastly expanded. It's also an era in which the number of restaurants and shops quickly increase. In short, Warsaw became a city which truly earns its nickname as the Paris of the North.
Next up, we will talk to Dr. Kosowski about the portrayal in the exhibition of the most important inhabitant of Warsaw at the time, Marshal Józef Piłsudski, who is considered to be the father of the reborn Polish state and its undisputed leader from 1926 to his death in 1935. In 1926, they took control of the country by launching a military coup in Warsaw. The city's development didn't suffer much from the 3 days of fighting, but after a couple of years, the economic depression that had started on Wall Street reached Warsaw as well. Warsaw was without a doubt the most splendorous Polish city of the era. But as Dr. Kosowski says, it doesn't mean that there weren't any poorer regions of the town as well. Marshal Piłsudski is the leader of Poland after 1926, and it became one of the names that is really well known throughout Poland and even abroad. And I was wondering what the cultural influence that the man has during the interwar era.
W tej przestrzeni wystawy, gdzie mówimy o Warszawie tych lat, eksponujemy postać marszałka Piłsudskiego.
In this area of the exhibition, where we talk about Warsaw of those years, we display the figure of Marshal Piłsudski. There is a great sarcophagus created by the sculptor Jan Szczepkowski.
W związku ze śmiercią marszałka i przeznaczony na Zamek Królewski na Wawelu w Krakowie, ale wracając do samej postaci,
it was created to honor the marshal's death and intended for the Wawel Royal Castle in Krakow.
Kulcie marszałka w tym właśnie okresie i to określenie budzi.
But returning to the character of Piłsudski, it can be said there was a cult for the marshal in this period, but the term cult can be the cause of some misunderstanding.
Kult jednostki czy poszczególnych osób utożsamia się automatycznie z systemami autorytarnymi, czy jeszcze gorzej z totalitarnymi.
In the case of certain individuals, this term was earned. The marshal was the architect of Poland, regaining its independence.
Dotyczono osoby, która była realnym architektem odzyskania przez Polskę niepodległości.
In the center of the exhibit, showcasing the splendor and elegance of Warsaw, the royal castle, the bars, the cafes and the artistic life, we place the death and funeral of the marshal.
O tym, o czym już była mowa, o roli Zamku Królewskiego, o balach, kawiarniach, życiu artystycznym. W jej centrum umieszczamy.
To witness the cult, all you have to do is watch a film from the archives relating to Marshal Piłsudski's funeral to see how much this figure meant to Polish people in this interwar period.
Obejrzeć film archiwalny dotyczący pogrzebu marszałka Piłsudskiego, żeby przekonać się.
It shows thousands of people participating in the funeral, which begins in Warsaw and ends at the Wawel Castle in Krakow.
Tysiące tłumów, które uczestniczą w tym pogrzebie, który rozpoczyna się tutaj, czyli w Warszawie, a kończy na Wawelu, w Krakowie.
The scene is comprised of many very moving pictures. For example, the military brigade takes the marshal's coffin from Warsaw to Krakow. This happens at night. I know this story from the stories told by my family.
Trumną marszałka Piłsudskiego.
Thousands of people from small estates and villages kneel by the trucks, praying and crying as the brigade slowly passes them on the way to Krakow.
W sensie, powtórzę raz jeszcze, ten kult jest rzeczywistym słowem, które oddaje cześć narodu dla marszałka.
This is shown in the film, and it once again proves that there was indeed a cult for Marshal Piłsudski. Then there is another side, during the interwar period, namely the May coup of 1926, when the marshal has to take the dramatic decision to protect the state structures and bring order with force.
Ochrony struktur państwowych i zaprowadzenia porządku siłą. Tą decyzję, jak wspomina,
this decision, as he mentions in his memoirs, is taken with a heavy heart, and he has to live with it for the rest of his life. In this part of the exhibit, we also show the other side, the misery in the Polish Republic, particularly in the city environment with the May coup.
Pokazujemy również rewers rzeczywistości, a więc obszary nędzy, a więc II Rzeczypospolitej, szczególnie w środowisku miejskim, a więc tenże majowy zamach. I być może postaciuje.
This issue is well depicted in a painting by Krakowian painter Wojciech Weiss in the Rzeczpospolita Club entitled Crisis. The European and world crisis overlays the political situation in Poland.
Ta sytuacja nakłada się, czy odwrotnie, kryzys europejski, czy w wymiarze światowym nakłada się na tą sytuację polityczną w Polsce.
The painting shows a barefoot beggar on the main square in Krakow, making a living by advertising the words "Ecce Homo" on his chest, which is the production being put on at the time, but also plays to the title of the piece and ambiguous meaning of the painting.
Tytuł aktualnie granej sztuki Ecce Homo. Stąd tytuł obrazów i wieloznaczny, symboliczny sens tego dzieła.
Here at the Warsaw Royal Palace, we learned the history and story of Polish democracy and how the parliamentary system came to be. It later on became an influence to Europe and to the whole world. It is not just a story of the castle, but also the story of Warsaw and the story of Poland. That's it for today. See you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily Travel. We're glad to see you again. In this new series, we're going to go behind the scenes in Warsaw. We will be trolling the nooks and crannies of the capital with our guide Wojtek Młatkowski from, wait for it, Behind the Scenes Warsaw. That's the name of his company, which provides entertaining and informative tours of the big pierogi, Warsaw, beautiful downtown Warsaw. In fact, all of Warsaw. He keeps an eye out for things you simply would not notice without his expert guidance. So sit right back and we will tell you a tale, starting with Plac Zamkowy, or Castle Square in the Old Town. We will then head to the far side of the ancient city, behind the castle, and then over to the Warsaw City Museum to examine ancient foundations. We'll take you for a spin in the revered Żuk van, a motor vehicle so fabulous they named it Beetle. Or they named it after a beetle, anyway. Yeah. The Żuk rules, as you will see. It pulls the piece together like Lebowski's rug. Yes, there's nothing like cruising the main drag in a crypto-communist car. So stay tuned for the Żuk. We'll make stops in Plac Konstytucji, that's Constitution Square. And we'll go over to the waterworks at Filtrowa, where mystery abounds. So it's adventure and travel talk, as always, in store for you, because we love you, on Poland Daily Travel, behind the scenes in Warsaw. Stick with us. Come along for the ride. Where are we going?
Here we enter a triangular square that has a lot of medieval bricks visible.
Yeah, it is a triangle, and we're behind the cathedral here.
Yes,
old
exactly.
cathedral.
We are behind the cathedral. We are next door to places in which those guys lived that worked at the cathedral, kind of clergy. Yeah? And they have built up the first brick houses in the town. Those houses that we can see here, those bricks have special colors. Yes, they have also a special size. They are arranged in a special way that tells us that they are quite ancient. As for here, the town is not the oldest town in the whole area. The town is just about 700 years old. And we had
this part of the old town?
This part of the old town.
700 years?
About 700 years. Maybe
You wouldn't see this,
you
know. If you were just walking by, you wouldn't realize that what this wall signifies. Now, this wall stayed here the whole time, or they remade it with the old bricks?
No, it stayed here the whole time. It was so solid, and it was underneath a cover of different other renderings and plasters that it just remained here from the very first moment it was built. And then after World War II, people have cleared this paint, and they do show us that it is really that very old. And it makes us quite proud, I have to say.
Yeah, that's fantastic, yeah.
These places here, they remind us of a time in which Warsaw was not even important. It has turned to be important in a certain moment of time, in a year that is marked on a wall next door to here. And that year is connected to a nature, to an event in nature. Not to any political event, but just to an event that comes from nature.
Some natural event,
and not even a disaster, something that happens here, you know, every year, really. This town is located at a big, mighty river. This is the
Well, it's not
Wisła
that
River.
mighty. You mean the Wisła?
Oh, yes,
the
it is mighty.
Vistula.
It is the most mighty river around here.
Ever?
And not ever. It is smaller than Amazonas, but this is just
Okay.
the mightiest in Poland.
No, it's the
we
mightiest
see
in
it-
Poland.
And
Okay.
here,
No,
we see it.
It's not the Mississippi.
Well, I don't know about Mississippi that well.
No,
I have
not
never
the-
seen
I
that.
can tell you it's not. No,
but here it was
but
relatively stable, you know?
Are you going to talk about a flood or something?
Yeah. The special thing about Warsaw is that in this location, particularly here next door, right-hand side of me, the river is stable. It
Because
doesn't
the river
change
is
flow.
just beyond this wall, down the hill.
Down the hill.
And we have the river. Yeah, okay.
And it was always there.
Right.
And normally such a river meanders, turns plenty of times, and it does change its way from year to year. And in this area of Mazovia, of Mazowsze, that would be the local name of the area, we have two towns. We have had two towns that competed with each other. Both were 6,000 people. Yes, both of them, around 1,400.
What were the towns?
The other towns
Is it a
name,
secret? You're going to tell me?
It's not a secret. It's a name that is written over
What are
here
they?
in one plate that I will show you.
Oh, you're going to show me now?
Yeah, I will show you the name. It's complicated. It's
let's
English.
go and have a look. Yeah.
It's complicated for English people.
Yeah.
But that's very easy for Polish people. The name is short. Yes. The name would be Czersk.
Czersk. Okay.
Czersk. Just this, yes? Everything else is the grammar of the Polish language. Czersk. And this place today is just a small village. It's like 600 people or so. And just imagine, in 1400, it was as big as Warsaw was at that time, 6,000 people. It even had paved roads and a great castle. Today, the castle is still great, but just a ruin, you know? And the Warsaw castle has been...
We had a guest.
Yeah, well, that
It's
was
okay.
quite spooky.
Ladies are allowed
Yes, to do absolutely everything.
Walk through the shop
They are even-
and do whatever they like. Sorry, folks, but this, you know, we can't say anything to her.
No,
She
you can
doesn't-
say she will just...
She doesn't care
she will-
about television,
yes,
of course.
She will.
Okay.
She will be absolutely superb to me in every possible aspect. That I will get up at every tram, at every time she would enter a bus, even an empty bus, with one seat taken by me. I would feel obliged to stand up
You have
and
to
offer
stand
her
up.
the seat. Yes.
Yes, and you let the lady sit down. of
Well,
course.
we are brought up in a very conservative way. This is the same since the buses were invented, I think, or even much earlier. But that's
back to our tablice.
back to 1400, around 1400. The river moves over there, and it moves swiftly from the castle over there, 5 kilometers away. So the castle becomes useless, and the Warsaw Castle remains useful, and that's why the capital of the local duchy was moved to here, finally, and that's how this church behind us, or right-hand side of me and left-hand side of you, has become more important.
cathedral,
The
'cause
cathedral.
we're right
it
behind
was
the old
not yet the cathedral at this time. Then it has been made a cathedral little bit later. Oh, sorry, much later than that.
What does this actually say?
And this says that's a long story of this church, yes, or a short story.
Can
of
you
this
tell
church.
us exactly what it says, please?
The Church of the Holy John, that has been turned from a chapel of the castle of local Mazovian dukes,
right,
to a parish church. Yes, so it was the first upgrade from a normal chapel to a parish church in the 13th century, and then in 1370 it was built up. It was, made bigger by Janusz I, who was a local duke, to the current extent. Yes, to the current extent. It's a special type of language. In 1402, from
1402.
1402, the local kind of cathedral-like organization was moved from Czersk to here, and then this has.
And where is Czersk?
Czersk is just 25 kilometers south of here.
South, so beyond Constantin, or
behind Constantin.
Okay.
It's like a half-day tour by by bicycle.
By bicycle?
Yes, by
Okay.
bicycle.
Are you a
yes.
bicycle rider? Do you like to do that?
Yeah, of course.
Me too. When the weather's good. I love it.
That's something what Warsaw people do in summer.
It's beautiful.
You know,
in
get
summer.
out there,
Yeah.
get to a tournament,
yeah.
get some medieval stuff to eat over there. It's eating. It's you think a bicycle. And
Sounds
then
great.
in 1798 or 99, it's a little bit scratch here. It has been made a cathedral.
Okay.
Yes, an official cathedral. And then in 1817, it has been even upgraded to a special type of a cathedral.
Okay, so
and
it's an important cathedral. And
it's an important cathedral for this part of the Warsaw city, because other part, the eastern part, has its own Catholic cathedral. And remember, it's to 99% a Catholic cathedral. This cathedral is dominated by this type of
That's another
church.
story. Hey, let's go to the next place.
So
Okay,
let's go
come
there.
on.